2023, Fabiano has won 3 out of 4 events he took part in, which is an amazing result. So he won this event, Superbet Chess Classics, which netted him 13 points, tour points that is, while 7 points from the Rapid and Blitz in Poland, and then he repeated his success twice in St. Louis, winning St. Louis Rapid and Blitz and the Sinkville Cup. So overall 46 tour points, hefty sum of $310,000 as a prize money, and he won the event, the tour, with a tremendous margin, winning, like almost he could skip one tournament and still be the winner. That was absolutely amazing.
Indeed, that was the biggest margin of victory in our tour history, and can he repeat? We'll find out. But it's my pleasure to introduce the other members of our broadcasting team from Bucharest, Anastasia and Christian. Hello, everyone.
Thanks, Yasser, and welcome back, chess fans, to round 3 of the Superbet Classic here in Bucharest, Romania. I have to say, the word of the day yesterday was resilience. As you mentioned, Yasser, Wesley saw just tremendous on the defense, but there was one other player, and that was Gukesh, the challenger to the World Championship match, facing a previous challenger, Jan Nepomniachtchi, and I have to say, he was on the receiving end of some immense pressure in that game, but he managed to survive. Anastasia, what did you see today? What were you doing this morning?
This morning I decided to come back to the playing venue because actually we had women's tournament happening at the same place, at the same stage as top guys are playing right now. We had women's event organized by Superbet and GCT organizers all together. 10 women Romanian players came to the playing hall and played Blitz event, and Mihaela Sandu, woman grandmaster and national team player from Romania, she managed to win the tournament 9 out of 9. What a great result she showed. And all players received very nice t-shirts from Grand Chess Tour, which made all this way from Q Boutique here to Bucharest. So they were very happy with prizes and those nice merch from St. Louis Chess Club. So it was really nice to see them playing on the stage. Hopefully one day we will have women's Grand Chess Tour event happening together with a men event. One day it is going to happen, I'm sure about this. Christian, what do we have today in round 3?
Well, they definitely kept the seats warm, and as we are getting ready for round 3, let's look at the marquee matchups. I'm going to start with the Battle of the Frenchmen, the big clash between Maxime Vachier-Lagrave and Alireza Firouzja. Big bounce back victory for Alireza yesterday, definitely coming into this one with a lot of confidence. As you can see, on the other hand, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave managed to best him in 1 game only. No losses for Maxime and 5 draws.
You know,
let's see what will happen today. Yes,
Maxime was telling me during the interview he's looking forward to play against Alireza. I asked him what is the best opponent, whom are you looking forward to play against with, and he mentioned only Alireza. He said always he has really interesting battles against him, and
there's some pride at stake, right?
Exactly.
For the French team, for the Grand Chess Tour as well. Definitely one to be keeping your eyes on. Another one, of course, the marquee matchup of the day is the one between the 19 years of age Nodirbek Abdusatorov against one of the co-leaders going into round 3, Fabiano Caruana. And as you can see, this one is tight. 1 win, 1 loss, and 1 draw. But we've seen Fabi with the black pieces take tremendous risks in game 1. It paid off in that one. Will he take risks in this one as well? Well, in just a few minutes, the games will start. Guys, for the moment, back to you in St. Louis, and we'll be here to give you all the behind the scenes as the round progresses.
Thank you, Anastasia, and thank you, Christian. 9 out of 9. That's pretty darn good. Can't beat that. But Jovi, do the honors and tell our viewers what they can expect for this round 3 pairings.
Oh, it's going to be exciting as always. As you see, there are 2 of our marquee matchups. Nodirbek will be playing Fabiano Caruana. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave takes on his countrymate Alireza Firouzja. Going to be a lot of pride at stake for this one.
Right.
Gukesh will also play his rival Praggnanandhaa. Anish Giri has white against Jan Nepomniachtchi, and Wesley So will be playing wildcard Bogdan Daniel Diak.
they'll be fighting hard for a lot of money. Break those prizes down for us.
Yeah, it is absolutely incredible. First place nets $100,000. Second place, $65,000. Third place, $48,000. But you just have to glance at the other prizes available as well. Everyone walk away very happy.
Absolutely. And I saw those pairings and those marquee matchups, but also with the Indian players, Gukesh and Pragg. A lot of stake there too. Ego, rivalries,
Exactly.
points, Grand Chess Tour points. That'll be a fun match. So each and every round, we've got some fantastic pairings as we see Nordebek and Fabi getting ready to clash.
Yes, and Fabiano with the black pieces. Very interesting point by Christian about how Fabiano took massive risk
did.
against Ali Reza in the first round.
He
Today
was-
he has the black pieces again. A different style of opponent though. Nordebek is a lot more positional, and here we have the battle between the teenagers, both 18 years old. Gukesh, World Championship challenger, he's meditating with the white pieces.
Exactly, against
It
Pragg.
seems to be the trend, I mean, mainly initiated by Vidit, you know, that
Yes,
you just
yoga.
spend some time before the play begins,
Here's our opening ceremonial first move.
made by an ambassador
Benny.
for Superbet, Benny Adegbue.
I'll take the Benny. You take the other half. Nice. Okay,
Nice.
Benny, what's it going to be? D4? Ooh. Nice.
Nice.
It was
D3. A symbolic move there. Yesterday, D3 came as a surprise
I'll move 2.
for Wesley So.
Absolutely. Yes, getting ready. Love the stage. Love the setting. Love the theater. Love the audience. Everything about this event really exudes professionalism. Very impressive staging.
And we're off, Yasser. And there we see the moves are starting to appear on the boards. Where should we go to first?
I have Nordebek and Fabi, D4 and Knight F6. And I see that we have the Indian Derby, but yeah, D4, Knight F6, Knight F3 in this one. Now it was B7, B6 against Ali Reza. Nope, going back to more conventional territory. And Miro, I have to say that it's our 2 picks.
Absolutely.
I'm going to spot you wide on this one.
It's my boy against your boy, yes.
That's exactly right. We've got skin in the game on this one. And what is our expectation? I was about to say.
I was expecting C4, but instead the London system has been deployed.
Yeah.
So now I suddenly have some interest in the game as well.
Exactly.
I'm feeling very patriotic today.
Exactly. Now, I've always thought that the London system was very viable in terms of trying to get an opening advantage when you have the move E7, E6 on the board. It always surprised me that people were trying to get an advantage in this way. They would play Bishop F4 at this moment. And I always thought, well, no, because I have equality with Bishop F5. The difference, E7, E6, Bishop F4, now Bishop E7. Now that is a very different approach against the London. I'm much more used to seeing D7, D5, Bishop D6, and very importantly, C5 is a major. You've developed your bishop to F4. Maybe your pawn on B2 can be targeted. Bishop E7, and already we're seeing this more and more in Fabi's games. He's looking to avoid, I want to say, mainline positions. He's come today with a little twist. Bishop E7.
Bishop
I'm
E7.
sure
I
not the most common move in your database.
and
Fabi, D4
yeah.
and Knight
See?
F6.
So,
And I see that we have the.
as you could see, practically any
choices.
move has been tried. Well, funny ones like knight to H5
B7,
and yeah,
B6
knight E4.
against
As for Bishop E7,
Going
It's
back
been
to
played,
more
and
conventional
I presume that
territory.
one of the ideas could be
Nero,
to
I
go
have to say,
knight h5
that's
as the
our
response to the most natural e2, e3.
Right.
So this way you exchange the dark square bishop.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
Skin in the game
I don't think it
on
has a
this
lot
one.
of
And what is
independent
our
value.
expected-
Bishop e7 will later on transpose
I
into
was expecting
one of the
C4,
setups,
but
and we do not
London
know
system
yet
has
what
been
setup it's going to
deployed.
be.
So
It
now
still
I
can
suddenly
be
have
connected
some
with b7,
interest
b6,
in the
and
game as well.
bishop to
I'm being very
b7
patriotic
development
today.
and c5 and so on.
Yeah, because you've developed your bishop to e3, the early moves knight to c3, and we understand the desire behind knight c3 is that we want to play e2, e4. One of the things that makes us reluctant to play knight c3 like early, let's say even at this stage, knight c3 exact. Not that black can't play d7, d5, but the move bishop b4, you know, like, why did I allow the spin? But with the inclusion of bishop f4, bishop e7, move knight to c3 becomes a little bit more attractive. How often is that seen in the database?
It's never been seen.
There
yet.
we go.
So you came up with a novelty, yes,
novel
sir.
idea.
Yes.
There.
came
Although
up
I
with a
must
novelty.
confess, knight c3. I've been seeing lots of these knight c3, knight b5 recently in the London. So bishop e7. Miro, once again, as you just pointed out, e2, e3, knight h5 falls into black's plan. h2, h3, making
H2, H3 was played, E2, E3 was played, and perhaps, yeah, let me double check, but E3 is still the most common move.
Okay.
So you'd go E3,
You're not worried
after
about this,
knight H5, you move the bishop here,
Welcome the
and
trade.
apparently this exchange you're not afraid of. Because, yeah,
You got
white
the
will
open
not
H line,
castle,
right.
yeah, some pressure on the H file already.
Yep.
Yeah, so if I'll ask the engine, let's say, yeah, well, E3 was just played, so we're about to
Yeah.
see
If Fabi
these
is
two,
intending knight
competing in
h5 or
this
not.
position.
All right.
He did. He already did, I think.
He's played
Yeah.
knight h5.
Very, very, very quickly. Yeah, we'll see bishop g3. Is it silliness to suggest bishop d3? You know, like I've got the double pawns, and
That's possible as well. It's one of the
Maybe.
setups, right?
Yeah,
So, like, you have the very nice square on E5 potentially. You have
Right.
semi-open E file.
right. Bishop
Oh,
g3.
He's gone bishop g3.
He's gone bishop G3. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so-
I'm kind of curious. Like, what is the plan? Like, knight takes bishop seems a bit
you know,
premature, right?
Exactly.
Because you want to know which direction your king is going to be going.
Exactly.
So you just keep the tension on the board a little bit more.
I have
and-
played these positions lots and lots of times as black, and I've oftentimes, like for example, I'll just put some moves on the board, not necessarily the best moves, but you get the idea of what I'm trying to do, and we end up in a kind of a waiting game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for you to castle so that I can take on g3 without constant suffering any
Be
consequences.
careful though, yes,
What?
sir. Be careful.
What did I do?
Because in this particular position, you have this very nice move, knight to e5,
And you
knight c6.
I understand. How much are you giving me?
I'm giving you a lot, but you're not. Okay, but I
But
just
you
want to.
made
But
it,
actually, the reason
yes.
why I pointed this out is actually I did a trick like this.
And you made
Yeah.
yeah. That so the point that Jovi's making is if I wait too long, I can end up in a situation where
Yeah.
you know I don't get to play knight. In this particular case, it's not the worst trap I ever fell in because I ended up winning a second bishop anyway.
Yeah.
But I get it.
But you get the whole point is that the
Yeah.
knight on h5 is a loose piece. It's not
Exactly.
defended, and it's on
Exactly.
the same diagonal as the queen. So one should always watch out for those type of tactical tricks.
Very, very, very good point. Let's turn to our all French matchup because who just boy, that happened fast.
Yes.
We went from a very slow London where we were looking at 3 moves to an ending.
Yeah, and it's
We
a
blinked.
Berlin endgame. And Maxim is one of the few players who
loves-
actually actively takes on the Berlin
Exactly.
in this endgame.
Yes, and somebody won a Berlin ending recently, and it might have been MVL where he got something. By the way, the two players have played this
They've got more
so
time
fast
than when they started.
both of them. So it's sort of like, my goodness, this is the latest and greatest in Berlin opening theory, Miro, because the two players have just blitzed out their moves to this position. Tell us about the current situation.
Well, I'm trying to figure it out myself because Maxime, as Chovy pointed out, he seems to be an expert when it comes to playing the Berlin endgame with white. Yes,
exactly.
He constantly finds some new idea
Little twist.
or just goes for something that he's previously played, but no one else aware of. Bishop d8, the last move by Alireza, appears to be a novelty. So
That is a confusing move.
everyone would previously play bishop to e7
Exactly.
and bishop to d8. Well,
Strange one.
it's not that easy. Like apart from, well, easy thing to say. Yeah, he keeps the e file open so that he can play rook e8, but it looks very awkward. Bishop on d8.
Truly. And
So I was looking at why people put their bishop on e7 and how white responded. So white normally goes bishop out to g5.
yep,
This bishop comes out to c5.
yep.
And then the game kind of continues with rook lifts, rook
Yeah, so the thing is, like now you do not have this option of avoiding the exchange, right? So after bishop g5, what computer
Right.
has is to play f7, f6, which kind of increases, I'd say, the tension on the board, because now white pretty much has half an extra pawn, let's say. Yeah, half an extra pawn on the king side. So if white stabilizes, if white's allowed to trade some pieces and so on, so well, his advantage is getting kind of better and better, bigger and bigger. I'm having difficulties to kind of identify why bishop d8 would be better than bishop e7.
And let's check out the lifetime scores, that is, between these two. And there you can see it is 1 win to Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. Alireza has yet to win in a classical game. There have been 5 draws. Still 6 games. That's a significant amount of games. You know, you really stumped me, Yasser, when you asked me, like, who's the player that I played the most?
Yes.
I was thinking, I can't really answer that question because I'm usually playing in opens.
Right, so you play once or twice.
Yeah, exactly.
You did mention Keith
Arkell and Mark Hebden, they probably
I can
would
imagine
be
you guys
maybe,
clashing.
yeah, maybe at the most 6, 7,
So
8
you
times.
never had a
No.
what Gary Kasparov referred to as his perpetual opponent, Anatoly Karpov. You
and
didn't
I
have-
was thinking, actually, if you're playing predominantly in the open circuit, then absolutely not. You will have just been training against different players all the time.
But these players, of course, match up very often, not just because of the GC Tour, but also their championships, the Bundesligas, their team Olympiads, and and of course their online play. I wouldn't imagine that bishop g5 immediately. When I look at black setup, and this is very typical of the Berlin, because g2, g4 is induced, it's a kind of it's a target, and black often plays the move h7, h5 as a way of getting some play on the king side.
So you're looking to step up with the king?
There's 2 solutions that white often takes against that. The first one is exactly what you just said. King to g2, h5, king to g3, and I cover my pawn. That's one. Another solution that we've often seen is a move like knight d4, h5. Now, if the bishop were on e7, ta-da!
Exactly.
It arrives with tempo. In this particular case, you may have to deal with g7, g6 because there's no tempo against the bishop.
Yes.
Okay, so that's one. You were saying, I can't really understand how to justify bishop to e8. That might be one. And if we are going to play king to g2, then also what you said, Miro, was this idea that, okay, I could play h5, king g3, and away we go, b7, b6, and we kind of see what's going on here with c5 and bishop to c6. Another one is what you just said also, is I might be tempted in this case to play rook e8 because I'm keeping a little watchful eye. Shall we make one more move?
Yeah.
Just for a moment. And now, because I haven't played h5, I haven't gotten your king. Now you might want to get out of this diagonal before I arrive, right? Somehow I tricked you into playing king g2, and the bishop looks good. b6.
Still very
b7.
complicated
Yes.
because white is ready to jump in with the knight. I mean, black's pieces, they look a little bit clumsy.
Right.
So I'm just thinking, again,
Where do
the
we
play
go?
continues. Maybe you got some knight to g5 ideas. I don't know. The presence of the bishop pair really stresses me out at times.
Well, indeed, but then we've got bishops of opposite colors, and we've seen
Yeah.
many times that after bishop takes, and I get
a5, b6.
I get something over there. I'm sure the computer engines are going to say minimal advantage, but nonetheless, tell us what the computer take is on bishop d8. Miro.
So computer doesn't see any reason not to play bishop g5. Because
Immediately.
compared to bishop e7, it's just like same line but better.
Really?
And so if you go f6, and
Take,
that's
take.
computer's like on the surface recommendation without going too deep, bishop h6 perhaps
stop
is the key
h5.
move to stop h7, h5. And the more I look at it, so computer's not impressed still. It's a minimal advantage for white, but the more I look at it in a practical game, so starts playing something like a5, c5. So there is no immediate counterplay for black.
Right.
And I see it as not such a great position. So that
Yeah.
lets white, to build his initiative. And therefore, after bishop d8 and bishop g5, I was thinking, could it be possible to try to,
Let's have a look.
to go for a tactical sequence starting with h5? And the point is, of course, to try to take on g4 intermediate.
Right.
And it leads to something like this. Knight to g5. Now you have to take the bishop. Knight to f7 and rook to e8. And surprisingly, it's not as clear. So rook d4, bishop e6, knight g5, these are maybe not the best, but very tempting moves to play.
Right.
And computer's not convinced that this is much. It is better for white, but I can imagine, once again, at home with cool, deep engines, you could work something like this to a draw.
Wow.
And then just I know computer says it's worse, but I know the way to achieve a draw and I just go for it.
Wow.
Okay.
We'll see how this develops.
We will certainly see how that one develops, but
Thank
it
you
looks
for the
like
in-
Ali Reza has come to the board very well prepared. Can we go over to the battle between teenagers Gukesh
Let's do it.
playing against Praggnanandhaa?
Okay.
So we see Gukesh
A Catalan?
sacrificing a pawn in the Catalan.
Yeah, what we would call the open Catalan. There are basically two main lines of the Catalan. One line, black just keeps his pawn on d5, fortifies it, blocks the bishop, and that would be what we call the closed Catalan. The other major branch of the Catalan is whenever black captures the pawn, then we call it the open Catalan, as this bishop on g2 is open.
Really,
And
it should be accepted, shouldn't
accepted.
it?
Catalan-
Catalan declined.
Well, you got the-
Catalan accepted.
I'm with you on that. We're not sometimes very, very logical. A lot of players, myself included, when I played the Catalan, often looked to play queen a4 check and queen takes c4, recapturing the pawn. Today's players really do go for these Catalan gambit lines where they don't immediately or even never manage to recapture the pawn. They just say the resulting positions are good enough, and this being one of them. Takes, queen b2, knight d7, and Mira, I'm going to come over to you and say, what's the latest and greatest in the Catalan gambit? Accepted, I mean.
Well, right. The first critical moment, I think, comes as early as move 6, or rather White's move 7.
Okay.
Because, well, for a reasonably long time, Queen C2 was considered to be the main move, and
Right.
I can refer to, I think, Topalov Kramnik
Oh,
was
many,
one of the
many
games
games.
from their match.
Sure.
And then Black would capture on D2 nonetheless, and you could take with the knight and then B5 and have something very similar where you can sacrifice the pawn in a different way. Well,
Yeah.
you already sacrificed, so now the question is what kind of a structure you'll get on the queen side. Then, alternatively, a bit later on, they figured out there is a capture with the queen, which feels counterintuitive.
Right.
Right,
We
you
played
played queen C2 and then you capture with the queen. But the whole point is that I'm threatening to play knight A3 and you won't have a comfortable way of protecting the pawn. And if you try to do it now, go B5, then queen G5, double attack, somewhat unexpected, on the G7 and B5 pawn, and White's better. So after queen D2, then later on it was figured out that, yeah, there is this move C6. And then if you insist on
Recapturing the pawn.
recapturing the pawn, you go A4 again, Black goes B5, and this time castles, queen B5, and so on and so on. It's a longish theory. I think the first game was indeed from Kramnik-Topalov match, and then, yeah, I presume the current verdict is that it's a draw, basically.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long theory and a draw at the end. So A3 seems to be a new take. After this exchange in B5, the fact that you've played A3 does not allow for one of the possible structures in this gambit when you play B3 and recapture with the pawn.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other factor is, since you've played A3, you have to react right now because Black is kind of threatened to stabilize everything on the queen side, just capitalize on the extra pawn. So B3, very logical. C takes, queen takes C6, all been seen. And yeah, I think we are still in the known territory. Yeah, so
Yeah.
about 20 plus games in this one.
Some interesting wrinkles there in the Catalan that Miro has told us. But we are going to go straight to Bucharest, to our man on the ground, Christian. Tell us what catches your eye.
Well, Miro, everything is a draw. Not only that variation, not only the Catalan, everything is a draw nowadays. That's why we see so many ideas early on in the opening trying to get away from the beaten path. But one thing that I'm noticing from the playing hall is that the players seem to be out of theory right now. Anastasia, what were you noticing?
Yeah, I was sitting in the playing venue and was just looking at the reactions of the players, and I was actually focused basically on the game between Jan Nepomniachtchi and Ani